Hello and welcome back to the official Scottish Rugby podcast. On the show this week, we're joined by current Scotland star Molly Wright. Plus, for the very first time and on the eve of his 50th birthday, we're joined by Doddie Weir. Molly, how are you?
I'm good, thank you, Jamie. How are you?
Yeah, very well, thank you. As always, Rachel and Al are with me here on the podcast. Now, Molly, where are you just now? Because obviously we're all working remotely. Where are you based just now?
So I work for the NHS, so I'm in my physio role at the moment. I've just managed to sneak away for the next kind of 30 to 45 minutes to come and say hello. So
Brilliant.
I'm still at my work.
Well, I think we're all in agreement, you're part of the NHS, so we're all totally amazed and so proud of what you guys are doing. So thank you very much from everyone here on the podcast. But let's go into your rugby journey. Now, obviously, Rachel's here as well, who you know quite well, so hopefully she'll jump in with some stories about you and vice versa. But it's an interesting journey, isn't it, for you, Molly, how you made your debut this year for Scotland, but you've been kind of all over the place to get here. I think you started playing rugby at the age of 4.
So I was born in New Zealand and grew up playing rugby. So my dad used to be a coach. And so from the age I was first born in the family, and so I had boots on at 4 and off I went and haven't looked back really.
Where was that, Molly?
So I started in Reefton, which is a small town on the west coast of the South Island of New Zealand, which is not a very big place, but so there wasn't much else to do but play sport, and the sports were rugby and netball, and they really took to netball. So
and then
here we are.
A bit of a journey through New Zealand as well. You played for Otago, you represented Christchurch as well.
Yeah. So I was lucky enough to have some really, really good coaches through university and going into provincial rugby. So I did that for a few years, which, I mean, it was a wonderful time for me. Lots and lots of wonderful players that I got to play underneath, lots of black ferns, as you might imagine. So it set me up pretty well, anyway, to get to this point.
Did you study in Christchurch? Is that a link to Christchurch?
So I studied in Dunedin, which is linked to Otago, so I was there first and didn't really make the provincial kind of level until my last year of uni, and then moved to Christchurch for work. And so once I was in Christchurch, some of my uni pals set me up with a club team, and that club team kind of led into a provincial team.
Did you always
guided along this path?
Did you always play in the front row, Molly? I asked this because Molly fancies herself as a bit of an all-rounder,
No, I've played all over the show, as typical for lots of women's players. I started on the wing, and then my coaches gradually brought me in. And so probably in my teenage years, I fancied myself as a bit of a flanker, and then I moved to Canada and was put in at fly half, which I played up until one of my very intelligent coaches decided that probably wasn't for me, and turned me into a hooker, taught me how to throw.
Molly's one of these front rows that goes kicking with the backs after training.
One of the all-rounders.
I watched about Robert Harley. Robert Harley was one of those guys as well, but he was a second row, but he played a wee bit of 10 when he was coming up through the age groups. And, Robert playing for the under-20s, it would have been against Ireland. I think it was 2010. Robert decided that he'd slip in at first receiver and hit a drop goal in an under-20s match. And I walked before. I was like, don't ever do that again. You're giving second rows a bad name.
Did he not also just on that? I remember, I think was it the Pro 14 final last year? There was a scrum, and they were set up with Rob Harley in the pocket to do a play, and it never came to fruition because they got penalised at the scrum. But I'm sure the Pro 14 final last year there was a play where he was going to he was coming back to his old role at 10, but I have to look that up. But I'm sure it was Rob Harley.
Is that not what dreams are made of, though?
Exactly.
That's what your dreams are made of. That's my nightmare.
Have you ever found yourself in the pocket or in the 10 position by mistake?
I actively avoid it in live games, but actively encourage all training sessions and touch rugby sessions where you push your standoff out the way to try and get yourself in there. So what about your differences then, Molly, when you look at the rugby, you've been lucky enough to play rugby throughout the world. It's one of the best things about any sport. I was reading a wee bit on you earlier on What's O'Neill's page, and it was talking about the fact when you first came over or came up here in January of 2017, you thought, right, I need to meet some people. So clearly the natural place is to go to the rugby club.
Yeah. It's a really, like you said, it's a wonderful sport that you can go anywhere in the world and make pals. And so I'd just moved from Dumfries to Edinburgh and didn't know anyone apart from the person I was living with, and needed some friends, and that's a quick way to make friends.
And was it just Watsonians? Was that just the choice for you because of location, or was there a reason why you went to Watsonians?
So my flatmate's brother played in the thirds and fourths for Watsonians, and so it was the only club team I knew, and so contacted the club and they invited me down for a training, and that was it. Didn't have to.
Yeah, and they're not going to be overly disappointed when somebody who's played professional rugby in New Zealand turns up and says, "Can I play?" Have you guys won't have played against each other, have you?
No, so I've never played in the Scottish system. So actually, my first experience of playing with Molly was when she came to camp and stepped me an absolute belter in the first session. I was like, who's this character? So no, haven't played against Molly.
A bit of friendly rivalry as well, because obviously, Rach, you see yourself as a front row forward from time to time.
Absolutely not. Molly was the most welcome addition to the Scottish team this year for me, but no, Mols has been a great addition to the squad. She's one of these kind of players that came in and fitted in straight away, both on and off the pitch, and is someone that kind of always has a smile on her face and puts other smiles on other people's face as well. So she's been a fab addition to the squad as well.
To be fair, like, it's an easy place to come in. Everybody's friendly, everybody's welcoming, and everybody wants to work hard, so that makes it.
And when you qualified this year, Molly, what was it like for you personally to now know that you could play for Scotland and making your debut against Spain? What was that like for you?
Oh, it was a pretty special day. It probably the only thing that would have made it better if my parents could have been there, but they were at home watching on their laptop. So it's like it's a very proud moment. I probably didn't expect to play at this level, and it was that camp and that trip away was one of the best long weekends I've had. Like, easily highlight of my life. So
that's brilliant, and you can hear from your voice there in the way you're describing it. It is important, and Rach and I'll bring it as well, that you have that balance of enjoying yourself off the pitch as well, but also feeling like a really cohesive team. How important is it that you guys have these trips away in these camps to really get to know each other on and off the pitch?
I personally think it's important because lots of us don't play together and don't play in the same league. So it gives us that opportunity to build and bond as a team, because teams, the more time people spend together, the stronger you are as a team, the more you learn the players. So
I think that's been a big difference for us this season, having the opportunity to have more trips away. And I think Moll probably came in, she was in at the start of the season, then dipped out and obviously qualified in at the start of this year and came back into camps. It was probably the tightest we've been as a squad, and I think people from outside looking in always say about our squad that we always look like we're having so much fun with everything we do, and I think Moll's probably agree with me that it is such a really nice environment, and we've got that kind of balance right between having fun but also having that competitive edge. And I think any of you that have spoken to Goose can see that he has a very competitive and strict edge, but he also gets the balance right. So I don't know what you think about that, Moll, coming in, but that was what I'd say is kind of our X factor as a squad, is our ability to have both sides of it.
Yeah, it's kind of like if we're in and we're working in a training session, it's switched on and it's hard and it's intense, but then once you're out of that environment, that pressure's away. It's not like people are at each other at all.
So what's your role, Molly, in the Scotland women team band?
Storyteller.
Singer, tambourine player, where do you fit in?
I wish it was all of the above. I'm not that talented though. I don't know. Rach might tell you. I quite like
Molly.
a chat.
Molly loves to chat, but Molly runs personality tests nightly. Don't you, Moll?
Yeah, you make me sound like a psychologist or something.
No, they're not like that at all. They're funny.
Rach, you guys have got a designated band, do you not? Am I not right in saying?
We do have a band, yeah. So the band was set up, and I'll give them a name drop because they'll love that. And it's called Rona and the Whales. It was set up by our Sevens team, but they have been very generous in allowing some of us forwards to join and hold the tambourine. Yeah, we do have a band, which is actually is great fun on camp as well. Just chatting rubbish and trying to put songs together.
It was your Six Nations debut as well, Molly. Now, obviously, there was a lot of postponements. Rachel's talked about it in length in previous podcasts around, the postponements, things like that. But just the fact that you managed to play in a Six Nations, I think you got Player of the Match in the England game as well. What did that mean to you to play in such an established tournament?
I was really excited. Even I think I got 5 minutes against Ireland at the end there, and so that was special. First Six Nations, we were away, didn't get the result we wanted, but still nice to be there. I don't think I got the England Player of the Match, but thank you for the mention.
Sorry.
I'll take it.
I got that wrong. Sorry. You were very good, though. You were my Player of the Match.
It's the presentation, Molly. This is it now.
I've had a shocker here.
I mean, we don't normally get to play at Murrayfield, so it was a special day against England, and I got probably the most game time that I've had. And in the snow, and it was a tough old match, but still such an awesome day.
My highlight from that day is actually Molly put in one of the best tackles I've ever seen. Must have been towards the end of the game, and it was obviously a pretty terror day. And Moll came out of the blocks like nothing you've ever seen and absolutely ended one of the England girls, and honestly was up there with one of my highlights of the season. It was incredible.
I think that's the way it goes, though. Sometimes it just felt like you couldn't do anything else, so it's just really to lay somebody out.
Yeah, that's when I realised I was very lucky that I haven't played against Molly.
What about current circumstances, Molly? Obviously, no club rugby towards the end of the season. You, I'm sure, as a key worker, will be incredibly busy. But are there what's on age girls? Are you speaking regularly? Do you have training programs that you're trying to do by yourselves at home? And then how much are you looking forward to being able to get back together and do something together at some stage soon?
I mean, I can't wait till we can see all of our pals again and throw a ball around. So yeah, the Watsons girls have got training programs. They do a Zoom circuit session a couple of times a week. So people are keeping fit as best they can on their own. We still have our training program set out by our S&C coach. So I'm doing all of my running and conditioning on my own, which is fun time. And I'm really, really lucky in my work. And our physiotherapy gyms are closed to our patients, but they obviously are still open for staff. So I still have access to lots of kit.
You've been doing some sessions with your staff mates, haven't you?
Yeah. So we're also, because obviously I can't bring patients into clinic. We're mostly speaking to them over the phone. We then have lots more time. So we're offering staff wellbeing sessions. So we're running spin classes, circuit classes, yoga, whatever we can for anybody who's working in the hospitals in my area anyway.
Yeah,
worth to mention as well that Moll got a promotion at work, I think, last week.
Way, yeah, I did.
Oh, congratulations, Molly.
Thank you. Yes.
And just on your work, Molly, you are a key worker during this incredibly difficult time. Just personally, how's that been for you these past couple of weeks? Because we're all working for Scottish Rugby, and it's tough for us. But I can't imagine what it's like for people like you. But how have you found the past couple of months?
Yeah, I mean, I'm lucky in lots of ways, and I know that sounds strange, but I still have a routine. I still go into work every day, I still get to do my job, essentially. My job is different in that I now am working on a ward and we're working at rehabbing patients that are very unwell. It's hard seeing how unwell people have been with it, but then they are getting better. So it's you get the flip side that you're actually helping people through this. Like you feel like you can do something, which I feel like lots of folk probably don't get that. You're just kind of waiting until it all passes, or we get back to a new normal.
New normal.
Yeah.
What is your role usually? So obviously at the moment you're on the wards and stuff, but what usually is your role at work?
So I normally, we would call ourselves MSK physios. So that's just kind of your stock standard. You got a knee injury or an ankle injury or aches and pains, and you come into a physio and I do a one-to-one consult, have a look at what's going on and make a plan.
Lovely.
So prescribe exercises or advice, that kind of thing.
So are you, like most physios or doctors that probably know as much as anybody that's treating you, are you a dreadful patient, or are you quite happy to hand over the reins if Jamie's needing to give a bit of advice?
It's funny because as a physio, you really don't want to have to self-diagnose or do anything for yourself, because that's like my work role, and I see rugby as an aside from that. So for me, I just trust Jamie that he'll make the right decision. He'll tell me what to do. I might question him sometimes, but
Mol doesn't sit on the sidelines easily.
No. I might ask a question, but I would for the most part listen.
I think
Which training session was it in? It was in the Six Nations this year, and literally one by one, your body parts were. It was at Scotland. Do you remember? And you had your ankle taped up, then your hands were getting taped up. Literally one by one, Molly's body parts were just becoming covered in tape, and she refused.
She like one of those Egyptian mummies.
Yeah, literally.
Molly, brilliant to have you here on the podcast. It's been really lovely talking to you. Stay safe. We will get you back in the podcast soon. And hopefully when the rugby season gets going again for you guys, we can get you on and talking about some big wins you're going to get next season. But thanks very much for your time. And
thank you, Jamie.
Speak to you guys
soon. Al. Thank you, Rach.
Thanks, Molly. Brilliant.
Cheers, Mol.
Well, we are absolutely delighted on the Official Scottish Rugby podcast to be joined by the legend that is Dr. Doddie Weir, OBE. Dodd, how are you, big fella?
Big Al, Rachel, lovely to see you and hear from you. Things not too bad in lockdown at the moment, especially with the condition I've got. To be fair, I've quite enjoyed it. Being with the family, not doing very much, driving my tractor. Every time I say that, I get a bit of a giggle. Drinking a wee bit Guinness and red wine, both in different glasses, I have to say. So all in all, quite good. I'm enjoying it, but I don't know if the wife and kids are enjoying having me around the house as much.
Dodd, I assume you have been shielding, big fella, have you? You've been pretty careful about who's been in and out, but have you had any celebrities doing any shopping for you?
Well, I have been shielding. I think it's been 3 months I've now been in the shops, and my sister's doing quite a bit for me. But yeah, Gary Armstrong, OBE's been a great help. He's been round about dropping out pint of milk off of me on the phone quite often just to see how things are. But it's amazing who you find who your friends are. I've got some neighbours as well who've been absolutely outstanding, helping the shopping. So looking forward to finally getting out, but quite nervous actually, because I don't know how the Co-op looks, I don't know how Tesco looks, I don't know how the shops look. I've been in my own little world down in my little small holding in the Borders.
A few quizzes on a Friday night, from what I hear, Doddie, is that right?
Well, again, the support's been unbelievable, big man. And Genius have been a big support of the foundation. And they for a quiz every Friday night, a rugby quiz. It's quite amazing how your knowledge is not very good. And with that, it's been quite entertaining. Ollie Phillips has been on, Joel Douglas has been on, Nick Knowles has been on, doing the quiz master. Scott Hastings did a bit as well, and a few others. So I think it's about 7 or 8 weeks he's been on. Right. I don't know if you've been following, but I believe every Friday night at 7:30 on YouTube. Go on, follow, and you can see how your rugby knowledge is. I think you were a question once at Big Al. They asked how many tries has Big Al killed for Scotland in his 56 games.
Oh, same stuff, different day, Dodd.
What was the answer, Doddie?
Yeah, Rachel, I know the answer. The answer is a massive one.
How many tries did you score, Doddie?
4.
Many did you score against the All Blacks in one game?
Oh, stop it.
Stop it, Dodd.
Just a couple. Just the 2.
Just the 2 in the one game. Over that, Rach. You ever scored 2 against the All Blacks in the one game?
Haven't ever played the All Blacks,
Yeah,
but
so the answer to that question.
I've only got 1 try to my name, so
I know. 1 try's good. What about the new way of communicating, Doddie? How have you been on the Zoom calls? You've been catching up with a few people?
There's been a few issues, big man, because I'm not really into social media like you youngsters are. And there's been a couple of problems where there's been a few technical issues, so I'm pleased it's going quite well at the moment. Because my arms don't work that well, so when I've got to press a few buttons and reset, I've got to go and find a wife to come in and do. So at the moment, things are going quite well. I do enjoy it. It's a safe way to communicate, and it's quite nice to see what's going on and see yourself and the lovely Rachel. I can see why people are going to kind of look to kind of phone in and listen to this, not to see you, not to see me, but to see the lovely, outstanding Rachel Malcolm. Bringing a bit of glamour to this interview, Big Al. I do like your assistant.
Glamour is not a word that I've ever been associated with before in my entire life, Doddie, but I'll take that as a compliment.
See, you're showing the way. You see Big Al now got some nice pictures in the back. You've got your bike in the background.
Working hard.
It's one thing Big Al won't know what the meaning of that working hard.
I have heard a little bit about his training habits back in the day.
Wait a minute here.
Talking to you about your gym sessions from.
I'd got Murray and Doddie as my mentors. These boys weren't exactly gym monkeys. And then the guys.
You're correct there, big man. I go back to a little story how social media has played a big part. And Rachel mentioned that before. Being a lecturer, she's using that quite a lot for her students. I'm sure that today's rugby players using it quite a lot. And doing the weights. And the weights in the old day were down at Netherdale. Myself and Tony Walker were upstairs and doing some weights. And every now and again, we would pick a dumbbell up and just drop it on the floor. We'd sit on the bench, drop the dumbbell on the floor. So the Val Houston, who was our coach at the time, and downstairs thought we were working quite hard. We were catching up what we were doing at the weekend, dropping the dumbbell. When we heard she coming up the stairs, we'd all of a sudden go back to weight training. Brilliant. Did no harm. We got away with it. So yeah, I'm one that didn't train that hard, not like today's player.
Have you been keeping up with any of the Scotland matches that we've been streaming over the last few weeks? Few months now, I guess.
I did have a wee look and I thought it was great viewing. The old Scotland v France brought back some lovely memories and how it was, and the Toonie Flip and Gavin Hastings and a few of the boys been involved, John Jeffrey commentating and one thing and another. I thought it was quite a wonderful thing to do and quite enjoyed. Reminiscing, one could say.
Nah, it's been nice. We've had a good bunch of the boys, a lot of guys from Uri on the Krabby's Changing Room chat. Kenny's been on, Kenny Logan's been on. We're chatting to him about how he missed the conversion over in France because he caught a glimpse of himself in the big screen.
Is that what he said?
That's true, Dodd. You would that, weren't you?
Very true. Yeah. You never put your house on it when Kenny Logan was taking a kick. But a great character. When we went on tour, a lot of the boys had nicknames, and I think it's the same nowadays. So Kenny's nickname was AMAC, all mouth and chin. Quite appropriate. But he's been a great supporter, him and his lovely wife and family as well.
No,
he's a good contact. And I think with the social media, it's been quite a great thing, especially in lockdown. As you say, I've been in shielding, not seen anyone for 3 or 4 months now, but this has been a good medium to say hello, really, and what is quite a difficult time for a lot of people.
Chin's a good man. I know he's done an awful lot to help the foundation as well. But you talk about shielding. There's a few changes coming around the corner, and just in time for you for a pretty big birthday coming up. 4th of July, is that right, Dodd?
Spot on, big man. Yeah, don't worry about the present. Just come to be enough.
I'll get Gary to drop you something off from Sainsbury's.
What age are you going to be, Doddie?
Oh, it's yeah. And if we look back when all this sort of M&D journey began, so we nearly 3.5 years ago, I got diagnosed in December 2016. The professor that day sort of said, look, you're not going to be able to walk into my surgery in a year's time, and that kind of hits home how long we're going to live for. The average life expectancy for someone with M&D is between 1 and 3 years, so it kind of hits you hard a little bit. Will I ever see this kind of birthday? Will I ever be around? And thankfully, for some reason, don't know why, but we're here celebrating. Still with a drink party, maybe not dance as much, but I didn't enjoy dancing anyway. But it's quite a milestone and another tick to the box for memories, because being able to see my kid, or all my kids, one's just turned 19, one 18, the wee one's 16, and the 2 oldest have passed their driving test as well. The 2 oldest are going to try and get them a girlfriend, which is finding it a bit tricky for some reason. They blame it on me, but I don't think it's anything to do with it, Dad.
As you say, Doddie, I suppose it makes it even more poignant, doesn't it, with everything you're going through. Have you got plans? Are you going to be able to get some people in and around I was going to say garden, but I mean, I know you're a significant landowner, so you'll be able to get thousands in.
And he goes, boy, why can you get thousands of little Ian Watts in? Because it doesn't take up a lot of space. So Ian, thinking of you, and well done you and Fuzzhawk for helping support the Scottish Rugby Union. Gay friend as well. He's been very helpful and supportive behind the scenes of my foundation, myself as well. It's nice to catch up with the wee man and have a coffee. So thinking of you, wee fella. But yeah, we had a few ideas, Big Al. One was a big party in Kelso, because being 50 is quite a celebration. 40, I didn't really enjoy it very much, because you've hit the top of the curve, you're heading back down the way in some ways. So 50, I thought, right, we're going to celebrate. So we're about to hire a big hall in Kelso, where maybe about 500 people coming along, but that's been put on hold, because I don't have that many friends. The other one was actually going to support Scotland in South Africa, because they were playing on the 4th of July down in Cape Town. I thought that would be quite a nice memory to take the kids and myself away out there. But again, as you all know, that's been postponed. We had a good time, the wife and I, at some Tunbury. Would recommend it if you want time away. But they're not open until, I think, mid-July. So all in all, being tight, as you know I am, it's going to be spend at home with my family, so I'm going to save an absolute fortune. Just in the garden with the family, and maybe a couple of friends, because with the shielding, there's certain limitations on what you can do.
Good man, get Gary to drop
the beach of here more than welcome. Big Al might drive you.
So, Dodd, we talked a little bit about the foundation and about the quizzes that have been going on, but I know there's lots of other stuff that has been going on. It's a tough time for everybody at the moment. But give us a bit of insight into what's been continued over the last few months and what the plans are for the next couple.
Well, I think, big fella, things have been quite tough over the lockdown period, not only for the foundation charities, for Rachel's dad and uncle as well, who we know extremely well. Businesses and SRU also be tough, hard times. Same with charities, a lot of functions have been cancelled, which is much needed to raise funds for the development, try to find a cure for MND. So, but what we have been doing behind the scenes is getting things ready for when lockdown ceases. I think now with the latest First Minister's statement that research can start again, which is great news because there are a couple of trials happening in Scotland and in England. They've been put on hold so they can start commencing again, which is good. Try to find a cure for MND. We've had what we call the Scientific Advisory Board, so the top 10, 12 professors in the UK meet every 6 months to discuss what's going on. So that's been quite a great thing to happen. So they're able to communicate. So when lockdowns allowed and finished, they can crack on what the incentive intention is trying to do is find a cure. So our own foundation, it's been just moseying along a little bit. As you say, very little's been happening with the lockdown, but as soon as that ceases, we'll be cracking on to try and raise some funds and raise awareness, get things together, and try and get this MND issue knocked in the head to try and find a cure.
How much money has the foundation raised so far, Doddie?
Well, Rachel, on the back of that, we've spent just under 5 million. So 4 million of that's really gone into research to try and find a cure. That's my main interest and main idea to try and fight this. And then just under 1 million has gone into help people with MND. So that's really split between Scotland, MND, and also the Motor Neuron Disease Association down in England. So that's helping people with little grants who might have to buy a wheelchair, might have to go and maybe purchase shower or steps or stairs or need to get out somewhere to help with the living or go on holiday. So that's been quite vital, especially after the COVID-19 has been quite hard hitting on a lot of people. So just under 5 mil, which is great, and it wouldn't have happened without the amazing support that we've received. Just truly amazing.
Well, we talked about this before, Dodd. It's a phenomenal amount of money, and not only that, phenomenal amount of awareness, not just in the UK, but globally. And a big part of that has been the rugby community, hasn't it? And spreading the word, and that global rugby community, the support that's got in behind it has been, well, I'll let you put it in your own words, but it seems to me it's been inspiring, the fact that so many people have been stepping up and looking to do as much as they can.
Very much that way, and it's quite emotional because I'm not used to people being nice to me.
You're not nice to anybody else.
So with that, it's great to have friends behind me. Talk Gary Armstrong, we talk about Ian Watt as well, Carl Hogg, yourself. Just treat me normally, just bring me back down to size, so to speak. I kind of love that. But the support with the rugby public and wider public has been truly amazing, just unbelievable. And I think in some way that's why I am where I am. The 3.5 years in, I think the support's been great in a way that's kept my focus off the reason and why I've got MND, more on trying to fix the issue, because as you may or may not know, and I've said this before, that one drug came out 30 years ago, otherwise there's nothing new on the table. And that one drug helps for 3 months, otherwise it's a bit of a waste of time. So everyone with MND has got a self-cure, that's the way I say it. So you get diagnosed, you're told you got this terminal illness, there is no cure, but go away, treatio. So every patient pretty much has to go home onto the computer and try and find their own cure, which I just think is diabolical. So we're trying to change that a little bit, Big Al, and in doing that, the support has made a big difference to try and find this cure. Life is for living. We're here. We're still enjoying life. We're still really enjoying speaking to you, Pep, especially you, Rachel.
Likewise.
It's a great message, Dodd, isn't it, at the moment, that there's a lot of people facing challenges. You've gone through and are going through incredible challenges, and your family, but it's meeting it head on, isn't it? It's what you've done ever since you came out. It's met it with a smile. It's enjoyed the opportunities it's given you, and it's a great message to put to everybody.
Very much that, and you and I have talked this in depth about before. When I got diagnosed when I was 46, never for 1 minute thought I would get MND. I was still relatively fit, still enjoying life. One day everyone's going according to plan, where you look to the future to get your mortgage paid off and then looking for the retirement age. Then the next day you're diagnosed with MND, your whole kind of world falls apart. So again, I feel I've been very lucky. So it's 3 years with the family, friends, sort of putting together memories, which have been unbelievable in some sort of lovely fashion. A lot of other people don't have that luxury. I know that we mentioned it, and I say it again, with an email in the foundation, a gentleman for Yorkshire, his brother-in-law said, "Big man, keep up the good work. My brother-in-law got MND or diagnosed in September 2017 and died in December 2017, 3 months after being diagnosed, and had 2 young kids." So when you hear stories like that, it just propels everyone to enjoy life while you can. You just don't know what round the corner. And with that, I think a lot has to do with your mental sort of attitude. And I think the same with rugby in some ways. If you want to make the tackle, generally you would make it. The same with M&D. If you want to fight M&D and you know that you can, you've got to keep thinking that way. So I'm adapting, not allowing M&D into my life. So an example, just looking at the floor here. Putting shoes on, I cannot tie my laces anymore. I couldn't do them that well anyway. So what I've gone and got is kind of elastic rubber laces so I can still put my shoes on. So drinking gets a wee bit harder now. So instead of not drinking, I drink through a straw. So it's quite handy. I get a cheap night, pint of wine through a straw, brilliant. In my tractor at the moment, I've just had it adapted that I can't really, in tractor terms, use my hands to put the arms up and down on the back end of it. So I've got a button on the floor now that I can press with my feet that allows that to happen. And I think that's the important thing. In everything we do, it's got to come from your mental side of it. If you keep mentally strong, I think it makes a huge difference. And I'll tell you another little story if you want to put that in as well. And it was just over a year ago that Mum died, and she's been fighting for cancer for a while. And you could see the mental strength she had for 2 years was unbelievable. But when she knew time was up, she gave away her engagement ring to her granddaughter. And as soon as that kind of happened, that was her kind of sort of attitude to say, I've given up. And within a week, she was away. So that's why I look at that and think, whoa, stronger you are, the better you'll feel. And hopefully you'll keep kicking for a lot longer.
Well, big man, you're an incredible man. The way you are,
remember what we said. I don't like this nice.
I know you hate this stuff, but it's got to be said.
You're a ball bag. You're lucky.
The way I'm saying it, the way you go about your business is just an inspiration to absolutely everybody, and it's not just in the last 3 years. It's been 3 or 4 years. You've an incredible influence on many people's career, including my own, well before that as well. So, you carry on doing what you're doing, meeting it with a smile, and I look forward to sharing a beer with you at some point soon.
Make sure you bring Rachel down at the same time.
That's a given.
Yeah, there we go.
What about that guy, Rachel? Have you been in Doddie's company much before?
No, I think that's the first time we've properly spoken, and not really in person, but face to face. And he's some man. He's such an inspiration the way he talks about what he's been through and stays so positive with everything.
He's the most humble man you'll ever meet for all the challenges he's been through. And I said at the end, like it was his character that before that led him into the way he's dealt with us. Like I remember him as a player, he was a big inspiration, a big influence on me as well, and on many other people. Like, and it's that character that's meant that he's met it the way he has met it, and the way he talks about trying to, even these significant challenges, even trying to go through them with a smile on his face. That's the way he's been. And I've been privileged enough to see him on a few occasions. He hates people saying nice things about him.
Yeah, you can tell he cringes at the start of it every time.
And the relationship he's got with Gary Armstrong, and Kenny Logan, Scott Hastings, all these guys, Jill Douglas, have done an enormous amount for him. But the biggest thing, and he's always said, is treat me exactly the same way. Just come through the front door with him, because he does it with everybody else, and you can see that throughout that interview as well.
Yeah, no, he's great. He's a great laugh, to be fair. As soon as he came on, he was just cracking jokes left, right and centre. So it's really nice to see his spirit so high, despite all that he's going through. But yeah, no, an inspiration for sure for many people.
Yeah, and you can just the way everybody has got behind them, and globally, it's global.
Yeah.
And it has been the rugby community, but it's clearly spread wider than that.
Definitely,
he brings people together with his charismatic personality, and he's just a great guy. It's difficult to say anything more than that. So it was,
definitely.
As we said at the end, it was a privilege to speak to him. Well, Rachel, there's beginning to be a few changes happening, not just in the wider society, but elite sport as well. Glasgow and Edinburgh boys were back in last week training at BT Murrayfield. What about yourself? What's happening with you? How much closer do you feel to maybe getting back in the park?
We're still a little bit kind of on the unknown. Women's rugby in general, but Scottish women's rugby as well, just with obviously our World Cup qualifiers have been cancelled at the moment, but we're just holding on to hear kind of when that's going to hopefully be rescheduled to, or there might be some changes to how those qualifiers look. But yeah, so at the moment we're just working to stay kind of fit as a squad. We're still working quite hard together and keeping in touch with each other and stuff to make sure everyone's just ticking over and staying focused. But it's quite difficult because obviously we don't necessarily have that end goal like the men have kind of got a bit of a date to work towards at the moment. But we're hoping, World Rugby and Scottish Rugby are working pretty hard to try and push for that date. So hopefully we'll have something soon.
Yeah, I'm sure they will. You talk about the date that the men's rugby have got to work. 22nd of August has been voiced as a return for the Pro 14, which will be a conclusion of last season with 2 games back to back, Glasgow Edinburgh games, which will always be tasty. Edinburgh in an incredibly strong position at the top of that league, and pushing hard for what would be a home semi-final, because it will then go into post those 2 games into a semi-final and a final. Does that do you keep a close eye on the Pro 14? And to your point there about it's difficult when you see other things happening in other parts of the sport, but is it encouraging or frustrating?
Oh no, it's encouraging. I think, the more things progress in different sports, in our sport, then you kind of can see that ultimately we'll be coming along at some point in the future. I think when the men obviously weren't training at all or weren't back in, it seemed like a very long way away for us, but to see that now they've made that progress and steps towards playing, it gives us a little bit of hope that we'll hopefully not be too far behind. So no, yeah, I definitely keep an eye on the Pro 14 and particularly Glasgow, being Glasgow born and bred. So I can't wait to see them play in the months coming up.
It's a bit more complicated for you guys, isn't it? And that you're probably geographically more spread, or you definitely are geographically more spread. But a lot of the girls are working. A lot of the girls are working full time. So to get that return, there'll be a few more obstacles in the way, I suppose.
Yeah, there's going to be quite a few challenges related to that, because obviously we've got a number of games we hopefully want to get replayed from the Six Nations, which I guess could take up a fair bit of time. So we've got 3 games to fit in and probably quite a small window what it'll be in the end. So how we make that work around, getting the time off if it's quite a last minute call and stuff like that. So Scottish Rugby are pretty supportive of trying to make things work with our other commitments, as they know that has to come first. But that is going to be a real challenge to get those fitted in as well as our World Cup qualifiers, as
well
as keeping employed. So
World Cup qualifiers coming up, they were due to be played, which beginning of September.
Yeah, so I can't remember exactly what date, but it was the initial qualifiers were across September, and then there was a world repechage for whoever came second within that in November. So there was the potential for a lot of time off, which we had already kind of accounted for with our various employers, but that's obviously now changed, and we don't know how that looks in terms of whether it will even be this year or whatever it'll be. So it's quite hard to plan for sure.
That's all from us this week on the official Scottish Rugby podcast, but joining us next week on the show is current Scotland star Panache Mzambe, plus ex-Scotland star David Denton.